Got some people coming in.
Hey, we're live now on LinkedIn, YouTube,
Twitter,
Facebook, Instagram Live, and this camera here.
Who's got the echo?
Is it me?
I think, but my phone's volume's turned off.
And I'm turned all the way down too.
But you know what? I still hear you.
Mine won't let me go all the way down. I'm like,
I think I'm the same way. My Instagram Live won't let me go all the way down.
It's one click away from down.
Yeah.
Hey guys on Instagram, Aaron, Easement, let us know. Can you give us a thumbs up or like some kind of emoji or something if you can hear us? This is new for us. We normally just go live on YouTube
Twitter.
and other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing for me where it's I can't turn off the entire volume on my phone, maybe because I'm on live, but
I'm okay. I can hear okay.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, Mark,
Right,
let us know if there's an annoying echo anywhere. So, but you know, I hear a slight one here, but I don't know if it goes to the audience. But let's
audio works on Instagram. We just got TJ just
Thank
confirmed,
you, TJ.
so we're good.
All right, cool. All right, we're talking horror stories today. Tom, you left us last week with some unmentionable horror stories that you needed a week to process.
So I'm going to switch gears because this one wasn't what I was originally thinking, but this one came up just today and I got to tell this story. So I'm 22. I just moved to Cleveland. And in my duplex, we had a coal room with a door that locked, and Mark's saying audio's okay too.
Yeah.
We had a door that locked with a padlock, and I put a bunch of stuff in there from storage. And I was obsessed in college with Target. I had a 21st birthday that was Target themed with a Target cake. And I collected Michael Graves stuff, which was like toasters and blenders and all this stuff by this certain designer. This is one of the first ones that Target had. And I had accumulated every piece. And at this point, I'm buying the missing pieces on eBay, and just, they were all there in the coal room. Some extra stuff that I didn't want to move with me went into the coal room, and that was kind of the end of it. And I was friends with a girl at Goodwill who, she was the manager there, and she knew that I was an avid Michael Graves collector. And she, long story short, she worked at Goodwill by day. She worked at a strip club by night. And she texted me and she's like, I have never seen anyone as obsessed with Michael Graves as this guy that I hooked up with. And she snaps a photo and I'm like, that's my house. Long story short, the tenant who lived upstairs in the unit that I had just vacated broke into the unit, taken all my stuff. The icing on the cake wasn't all the Michael Kors stuff, because I got to tell you, I didn't follow any rules. I like opened the damn door and walked in and started picking up my stuff off their counters. Like, I did nothing legal because I was clueless. I found my Christmas stockings, which had my name, my dog's name, and my ex's name on it. And they were crossed out in black Sharpie where it said Tom, and now it said Jazz and Kiki on the stockings. So this tenant stole my stuff, gave it to his kids. There was a board game that like was one of my favorites that was Michael Graves that was underneath the Christmas tree. This was at Christmas time. And it all happened by chance that she like went home to hook up with someone, and she's like, oh my gosh, I know a guy that collects Michael Graves. And it just started this chain reaction of my tenants stealing all my stuff. So that was a pretty horrific start, and it should have scared me away there that I had lost most of my possessions to my actual tenant. But fortunately, I was dumb enough to not go the legal route and just walk. I mean, I knocked. I didn't just like barge into the house, but I knocked. No one answered, and I walked in and I took my shit. And that was horrific enough, but I've had shootings at the crack house while we were working on it.
Wait. No, you can't. You
I'm
can't
moving
just
on.
go past that.
I-
Because the stockings, they just. That's the
Jazz
oh,
and Kiki.
God.
I was looking because back in like 2004, the cell phones were very basic back then. So I was actually looking to try and find the picture that I had taken, but it was on my like Sidekick from 2004. So I don't have the picture of my stocking because it was my stocking and my dog's. My dog's name was Vegas, and Vegas was crossed out, and it said Kiki underneath it, and then mine actually said Jazz on it with black Sharpie.
No, that was
Um,
a nightmare. How have we
Look-
been talking for 2 years and you've never mentioned this one?
I
Like
just
that's
I was
Black
thinking I wasn't going to share this story, but then I went to Target, or I'm sorry, I drove through the Target parking lot to get into the gym because they were doing road work. And I'm like, man, I wonder where my Michael Kors stuff is. And I have a few pieces, like the really special, I have the tea kettle and the cookie jar still. But
Wait,
it
real
just
quick, wait,
popped
real
into
quick.
my head. Sure.
You're switching between Michael Kors and Michael Graves.
Michael Graves is the
Okay.
designer that I'm trying to think of. He's the architect. He's one of the ones that did the first collection with Target. This is back in 2000.
I am
who
familiar with
didn't
Michael Kors. He's the fashion guy. I'm Googling Michael Graves. I did not know about this guy, but he makes housewares for Target, teapots.
He did years ago. So he
spatulas.
actually,
Okay.
he's actually an architect. That was how he
Okay.
started, and they did this partnership with him in the early 2000s. They did a relaunch back in like I think it was 2019, and I was real excited because I got a few of the missing pieces that I couldn't recover that my tenant had stolen. But this was a architect, very unique design. He did partnerships with other companies. The tea kettle's really famous. I mean, if you look on Target, and this is what triggered it as well. So then I'm sitting at the gym parking lot, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm on eBay looking at different tea kettles because there's different spinners on different tea kettles that make it more unique and expensive, because some of the tea kettles can sell for like $380. That's what triggered the story today. So that was
Okay.
not the horror story I had in mind.
But okay, I want to hear the tenant side of the story. And so the tenant's going to say, what did you do to him that he reacted this way?
I did nothing. He was just broke and couldn't pay rent. I did not have the means to do an eviction. So I just kept telling him to get out, get out, get out. And he finally did get out. When I went and I filed, we never made it all the way to court. I got him out, but he was just broke and a single dad, and just took it upon himself to make his kids Christmas with my stuff. And I was the one that left it there. So I went down into the basement, and it had been cut. It was just like one of those little master locks that was on it. Nothing fancy, because I didn't think that my tenants would go in there and take my toaster. And that's what it was. It was the girl that had alerted me to this, sent me the picture of the toaster on the counter. And I'm like, that's mine. That's weird that you're hooking up with someone in my house. You don't realize that it's my house, because she had never been there. We weren't that close of friends, but she knew that I was obsessed with this collection. And it just started a chain reaction. So I remember it took a couple months to get them.
Thank goodness
out.
for her. Like that she was paying attention, that you knew her, or else I don't know when you would have figured it out.
When I went to go look for my blender and my toaster and the missing pieces.
I think that's a girl quality. Like they really take stock of what the house is. At least when I was dating, like every house, like I'm not focused on the house. Like whatever, we could, continue the conversation in a spare, bedroom. But I remember girls would always ask me, like, it wasn't a sexy thing that they'd come in and all my books were like finance related and personal finance and IRAs and stocks and real estate. Like, everyone's like, you read these books? I'm like, yeah, they're awesome. And there's like, oh, I thought you were someone completely different in the club.
Mine was also similar, where I had like Paris Hilton's biography, and they're like, oh, I love that. So I didn't have any finance books, Alan, sorry. But I would get compliments on my collection of Paris Hilton memoirs. And I don't know. I had a different type. I had more the HGTV books, the design books, than the finance, because that was always the fun part. So my tenant stole all my stuff, gave some of it to his kids. I walked into his unit and took as much as I could back. I think I left the stockings, but I remember I took a picture and I sent it to my ex, and I'm like, "Do you believe this shit?"
First of all, hello to Budget Dog for tuning in. But so you stole the kids' Christmas presents back.
And steal. I took my stuff out of my own house
The
and
Grinch, the frugal Grinch next
and
door.
slapped it down in my Grand Am. I drove a gold Grand Am at the time, and that was the end of that story. Was they took my stuff and I took it back.
Okay, so the frugal Grinch, that for sure, that's you. You ruining kids' Christmas.
It was like 2 days after Christmas. They had already had their stockings. It was not before Christmas.
He stuffed some stockings with your friend that came over. How did this end? How did this tenant finally move out, or did they start paying rent? Yeah.
No, they didn't start paying rent. It was like a horrific 3 to 4 months of me going back and forth. Finally, I filed the eviction myself because I didn't have money to pay a lawyer at the time. I didn't know how to find a lawyer. I didn't know what Bigger Pockets was. And I got it filed, and he got the notice, and he immediately got out when he got the notice. And it wasn't the 3-day to vacate notice. It was the you need to appear in court notice that got him to move out. Did I ever recover any of my missing Michael Kors stuff? No. Or Michael Graves stuff? I'm sorry. No. Did I ever recover any of my money that was lost from lost rents? No. But it was a lesson.
And you got a good story out of it, and that is worth more than all those missed rent checks.
Oh, hey, Lawrence is here. Hey.
Hi, Lawrence. I miss the Michael Graves stuff, and I still do collect. I'm getting the really fancy tea kettle for my short-term rental, and Lauren will probably steal it and take it home with her when she stays in my short-term rental, just to prove a point.
It'll just be my birthday present, since my birthday's the same time we're going to be there.
Yes.
So this Michael Graves stuff at Target, housewares, are these collector items now, you're saying?
Oh yeah. Certain ones and certain years that they were made. It started with a crock pot, was how the collection started. I bought this $20 crock pot, and then it just became an obsession. And I worked at Target. I never talk about my time at Target because I spent so little time working there. Love shopping there, still love shopping there, but I did not have a good experience working there. And it had nothing to do with the company and everything to do with the person that I reported to.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good horror story to get things started.
I'm glad he kicked off. Should I go next, Alan?
Yes. I feel like my horror stories have been suppressed into my deep recesses of my brain. So yeah.
All right. So should I talk about my long-term squatter, the Airbnb party that was thrown at one of my places while I was across the country in Colorado, or the would-be Airbnb guest that contacted my boss at my W-2? What should I go into? Comment, guys. Let me know. Anybody care?
100% you need to talk about the guest that contacted your boss, because that story still blows my mind.
I've shared it on Twitter in a thread like a couple times, and it never like gets any traction. And I'm like, how does everybody not think that this is insanity? Okay, so yeah, so I'll go into that. So I'm going to start by saying I have a property management software. So I don't manage directly in the Airbnb app or the VRBO app. I have my own management software. I'm about to open my 10th short-term rental. It just is too cumbersome when you get beyond like 2 to be managing everything directly. So because of that, I am able to communicate with guests outside of the platform via email. I'm able to send renters agreements. I'm able to take my own security deposit securely through Stripe. There are other rules, and it's called being API integrated. So there's other rules that I follow. A lot of guests don't know that there's kind of 2 rules that people are playing by. There's the kind of mom and pop Airbnb people who are directly in the platform. And then there's the people who are treating it like truly the systematized business like I am. So it's in my house rules that I take a security deposit, that there's a renter's agreement, and some of these things. And you're supposed to read the house rules when you book. It's something that's kind of inherent in booking through an Airbnb. And this was a Friday, and Fridays are hectic for Airbnbs. It's when you're going to have our short-term rentals. It's where you're going to have most of your guests checking in. I think tomorrow we have like 4 or something out of our 9 that are open. So there's also people, if let's say we do have a unit open, which happens here and there, we also do allow last minute bookings. And so people can book for that night in certain circumstances. And so this woman booked and then calls me, and I was like on back-to-back calls for my 9 to 5. I was about to like go for a walk with my mom. I was actually at my parents' house because my dad and my husband were fishing and I was working from there. But I was going to go for like a walk with my mom at lunch and be like all leisurely and pretend like I didn't have this horrible job. And so this lady calls me and she's like, well, what are we going to do? I am not putting in the security deposit. I am not signing this renter's agreement. Where do we go from here? I said, you're more than welcome to cancel. You don't have to put it in. But I think what she wanted was me to say, oh, no worries, I'll let you stay anyways, which was not that just wasn't happening. That's not because I said, I'm sorry you missed that, whatever. And she's like, you should cancel. No, she said, you will cancel my reservation. And I was like, I don't think so. And I was like, I'll call Airbnb if you want and let them know that I authorize a full refund and whatever. But, that's not how this is going to go. She's like, I don't think you should be marketing on the platform. I think I'm going to report you anyways. And this lady, by the way, Shelly from Colorado, she had, swear to God, 25 5-star reviews. So this lady is like an Airbnb, like journey person. She's on Airbnb all the time. She's getting great reviews. I'm like, how is she this much of a bitch? Like, it's unbelievable. Sorry. I don't know. Is that against?
I said shit, so I think we're already going to be banned.
I'm not familiar with that word. What does that word mean, Lauren?
What?
Go read my comment. Go read my comments, Alan.
Okay.
She's a female dog. But yeah, so this is all going on. Like, she's like, I go for a walk with my mom and she messages me. She's like, I'm on the phone with Airbnb and I'm not getting off till you cancel this reservation. And I'm like, that's no skin off my back. I'll let you sit there all day. Like, what are we talking about? But I did call, told them I authorized the full refund, whatever. And then Airbnb canceled it. So just as some background on how this works, if a host cancels, they get penalized. If a guest cancels, they get penalized. And there are nuances to both of those things, but it's not good. And there's also a third option, which is an Airbnb cancellation, which they did here, which bothered me because I thought she should have to cancel. But she thought I should have to cancel because she knows it hurts my superhost status if I cancel. So that's what she wanted. Once she realized she wasn't getting in, she wanted me to at least be negatively affected, which I wasn't on Airbnb.
By a policy that she didn't read, which makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of people don't read it. But so then Monday rolls around and I'm on another call for work and my boss is messaging me on, I think it was Slack or Teams or something. He's like, oh my God, I am cracking up. Wait till you see this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, can you wait till I'm not red? Like, tell me this stuff when I'm green and I'm not on a call. And he forwards me this email that she sent to like our hello at whatever, or the info box at my job. And it was a pretty small company. So he happened to check it. And so she had emailed my boss. And the tone of this email was, Lauren does whatever she needs to, like, she doesn't follow the rules, right? Because she was saying that all the stuff I wasn't doing wasn't following the rules. I'm not following the rules through Airbnb. So am I not following the rules at my job? Do you know that Lauren has this side business? So is she doing the side business and not doing her job? Does she only do what it takes to keep her ratings up, even if it's at the expense of other people, kind of stuff? And she's like, and she also was like, do you know she's taking credit cards? And like, my boss is like, I would trust Lauren with not only my credit card, but almost anything. She's a great person. I'm excited that she has this business. I want all of my employees to do what they want and love so they can grow as full people. And just like reams her at the end, he's like, thanks for the laugh, but don't waste my time with any more of this shit or whatever. And I was like, yes, Mitch, my boss, this is awesome. Shout out Mitch if you're out there. Love you.
so her what did she have to do? Like, she knows your real name. She puts it in LinkedIn. Because like my real name, and I guess people are gonna look me up now probably, but like it's just my day job that's on there. And just so everybody knows, it's my lunch break. Okay, I'm not doing what I can to keep my ratings up. I'm allowed to take a lunch right now. Okay, don't come at me.
But yeah, and then I called Airbnb and I told them what she did, and they said that they were gonna like put a note on her thing. But like I'm pretty she's out there, you know, and I sort of wonder, just to put a little bow on this, she's not okay. You know what I mean? Like she has like depression or something is not going well in her life to go from like 0 to nuclear and so that email that we actually got on Monday, like she had sent it Sunday. So if you think about like this was Friday, she's stewing on it Saturday, she's on it on Sunday, like that, she's not okay, you know.
Does Airbnb let you kind of like, because I can pre-block people on eBay when they ask really ridiculous questions? Or the other day I had someone, I sell this perfume for $70. It's pretty hard to find, but this lady found it at TJ Maxx for $14.99, and she just wanted to like show me and shame me for selling it for $70 and say, hey, I found this for $14.99. So at that moment, I knew to pre-block, because I've had people who have bought stuff just so they can leave the feedback. Does Airbnb let you block certain guests?
So I had a
eBay,
guest.
yes.
I had a guest this week. You might have seen this in the CFU Discord, Tom, where she had a one night stay, and the fishing guide, a lot of people go fishing there. The fishing guide canceled her reservation, or canceled whatever weather. And, you know, of course it's, you know, she's like, why can't I have my money back? I'm like, I'm not going to rebook this night. It's 3 days from now. She's like, well, why would you not give me this with something outside of my control? Your review is going to reflect how accommodating you are, and blah, 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 like going on and on and on. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, did you get travel insurance? It's also not my fault that this happened. You know, I'm not a travel insurance agency. Like, I'm sorry. I have a certain cancellation policy, right? And if I had a flexible cancellation policy, maybe I'd get more bookings, but I don't. And so I'm sacrificing that by having this cancellation policy. So I have to stick to it. I'm sorry. And so we canceled. She finally canceled. She got her cleaning fee back, and that's it. The next day, she goes and says, oh, can you, I'm back on for the fishing trip. Can I book this? And I was like, no, you psycho. You just threatened me. She threatened me like a few different ways. And so my point is, I hadn't blocked her. I should have blocked her. Then I had to go and like report one of her messages from before and block her that way so that she couldn't book. I think that's what you have to do. You'd have to just report one of their messages, even if it's not abusive, maybe just report it for abuse, and then a block option like pops up. Yeah. What they do allow, even if you have instant book turned on, what they say they allow, and I don't really trust their back of house, their back systems all that well at Airbnb, but they say you can have like 3 free cancellations a year on instant book, kind of for any reason. It's to incentivize you to keep instant book on, but then you don't have to allow anybody there. So that wouldn't be like pre-blocking, but that would mean if they booked, you could not allow it.
My thinking first, the first story about the boss, to me, she was jealous of your success. Like, you've got a nice house, you got a job, and she's like, I got to tear this person down and get her down to my level. The second one was probably she was disappointed on her trip being canceled, and she wanted to vent on someone, and you're anonymous and faceless, and she'll never see you, and it makes her feel better. That's my, armchair quarterbacking of the situation. Not that there's, what you did nothing wrong, but I think that's the business. You take the abuse.
Yeah, for sure. I stick to my cancellation policy. And what's hard is Airbnb makes it very obvious for guests that it's up to the host. You know what I mean? Like, Airbnb takes none of that brunt for you. They're very clear to the guests, like, this Airbnb host could refund you if they wanted to. And what I do in a lot of instances, this was one night, 3 days away. I didn't make this offer, but what I do a lot of times is if I rebook, I'll refund you. What somebody did one time is I was requiring 3-night bookings, and they were like, we only want 2 nights. So I'm going to go ahead and book right now to hold it, and then we'll make that work out. And I was like, I'm sorry, like, that doesn't work. And so I told her, if I rebook, and I was like, and I will rebook, I'll refund you. And so I did that for her. So in some, it's a case-by-case basis, but I will only do a full refund if they rebook. Again, because I have a certain policy. I guarantee you some people don't book me because I have the kind of middle of the road policy and not the flexible one.
I was
So-
booking this week, and I wouldn't book you either. Stephen Hill says that he loves learning from all of us. Thank you. We're looking forward to you buying next year and saving. No, Lauren, I haven't stayed in Tarpon Springs, is why I haven't booked with you yet. But I'm afraid by all the policies, so we'll see how that plays out.
I am okay if people don't book because I have a renter's agreement.
Yeah,
And security. Like I'm
yeah.
okay with it, and
That's
I
what I
have
would do.
very little issues, like almost none.
I mean, maybe I'm different, but when I book a place, it's all I care about is the location and then the property. Is it going to solve my problem? Because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pay. I'm not going to tear it apart. I don't care what
Yeah.
the cancellation policy is. That's never my intention. But I sort of like. I would also recommend that you have a stricter Airbnb policy just to let people weed out, self-edit themselves from being a problem.
Exactly.
All right, Lawrence Briggs wants to know how to find us on social media. That's because on Instagram, you should be able to follow us at Real Estate Maxi, at the Frugal Gay 11, at Adulting is Easy. It's also live streaming under our names here.
I'm
LinkedIn.
most active on Twitter at
Yeah.
Adulting is Easy. I'm
Yeah.
not that great at Instagram, but throw me an Instagram follow if you want. I'm trying to get to 1,000.
So like I said, I have trouble struggling with like horror stories because I think it's also nothing disrupts me, where it's just like whatever this major problem is, I have a very narrow emotional spectrum, and so I'm just like, okay,
Alan's a sociopath.
What if they stole your toaster? Would that trigger you?
I have ADHD. I would not know my toaster's missing for like weeks. Like you don't understand. Like 4 times a week, I make a coffee and then I leave it on top of my car. I leave it in my house. Like I end up not drinking coffee, but I make coffee every single day. So
my brother does that, and he has ADHD. That's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Now we know.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I won't even know. Like my wife rearranged the whole furniture in the house, and I was sitting on the furniture, and like it took me 2 days to notice, like, oh my gosh, the couch is in this room now. Like, yeah. Anyway, I'm slow to pick up on things. That's why I wouldn't notice Michael Graves, houseware designed anything. But speaking of tenants that are taking abuse out on the wrong things, most recently, I've got a really sweet property manager. She's great and friendly and proactive and tries to answer every question. And so whenever I hear from her, it's always like wow, like I haven't heard from you in 6 months. Like what's going on? And so, she started forwarding me these emails because I have it's a triplex, but it's detached. So you have a single family up front and a duplex in the back. And so I've turned the duplex in the back into Airbnb, short-term rental, and cleaned it up. We put in some landscaping, a little fire pit, but really it's just benches around some stones. Like no one's ever going to do a fire. And then we put up some motion sensor lights. And it actually, sure, I put a lot of money in the back duplex, but it cleaned up the whole property. Like they share a driveway and a sidewalk and things like that. And then she starts forwarding me these things like, there's a new light that's burning, that's been installed and it's burning my eyes. And I'm going to call the police if this is not fixed in the next 24 hours. And I'm like, okay, I guess he doesn't like the motion sensor light. And so I get an electrician to go out there. He lowers the light. And then like the next day, it's still not working. Oh my gosh. And I was like, okay. So, send someone else back out there. We put lower wattage in it. And then it was just this daily thing. I'm calling the police. I'm going to report you for this.
Is this the tenant in the front who's upset about the new lights in the back? Okay.
Yes. And it's like one of those things where it's like you live in the city of Atlanta. Like this is Atlanta. It's not like living in New York, but like in New York, like you hear horns and traffic and there's lights and maybe my neighbor's light, this is city living. Like it, I don't know why he thinks this is the suburbs. But and it's one of those things where it was just an overreaction. And then we're still working through it, but he could just get blinds on his window. I don't think that's
no. He's mad about the Airbnb. Obviously, that's it. That's all. Yeah. End of story.
Okay. Well, so then it comes to his lease.
That part of the story is with Alan's coffee.
Yeah.
He's forgot that part.
Yeah. That's totally. But now his lease is coming due, and the property manager's like, should we raise the rent? Do you want to keep? I was like, no, I want new tenants. And he's like, why? I was like, like if this guy's already threatening to call the police every week for the most ridiculous stuff, I don't want him in my house. Like this is not. And now they're pissed because I'm not renewing the lease. And then he starts writing more threatening letters. So I'm like, what did you think my reaction was going to be? Do you think, like I've tried 3 times to fix this. And plus I don't think it's really something that is that bad. And you could also put up blinds in your house. That's not, or curtains or whatever. Yeah.
I posted about this.
Who lived in the duplex before? Was it just long-term tenants?
It was long-term tenants before.
So they were just used to that.
I posted about this recently. I had a tenant who she like wouldn't let anybody in. I was trying to sell the property and she like wouldn't let anybody in to see it. And then, but if there was a repair, she'd be like, it's, I think I put on a new roof and like the shingles weren't perfect. So it went through and the ceiling got a little wet and it wasn't pretty. And she's like, every time I'm entertaining, this is very ugly. We need this fixed immediately. I was like, oh, so you're letting people, like, are you scared of COVID or like, you're not scared of COVID? You know what I mean? And so she would do stuff like that. Of course, she would like send me like the law 6.1.3 says blah, blah, blah. Right. And she always made sure that her rent was in her mailbox at 5 p.m. on Friday because in Florida it's not late. And 5 p.m. on the 5th because in Florida it's not late till the 6th. And she would do that to make my property manager drive over there and pick up the rent, just to be, however, she's like following the letter of the lease, right? And following the letter of the law, and then gets very surprised when the rent goes up, and I'm like, I don't know, like, why would I not raise the rent? And as I sold that place, I thought about having a conversation with her where I'm like, you're month to month, you should be very nice to these new buyers, because the only reason I was keeping her is because I was selling it and I wanted the income to be coming in. If I were those people, if I was going to keep the place, I would have non-renewed her, because just being annoying to be annoying, calling about things that she didn't need to. There's discretion on both sides and there's respect on both sides of that relationship. And I got a lot of flack for that, but
I have one currently, and she'll complain about everything but let no one in to show up. So then I'll send people, and then finally the last time I'm just like, I'm gonna send them, and if you don't open the door, you're paying the $75 trip charge for them this time, because they've tried 3 times. You don't want them, and it blew up, and I'm at the gym on the treadmill and I have to stop talking or stop running to have this conversation. So she finally let them in and has stopped the complaining. But it's hard with those type of tenants. I think we've all had this type of tenant.
If you run your tenant and landlord relationships on both sides purely by the letter of the law and not seeing each other with empathy as human beings, it makes it hard for no reason. Like, you can both be reasonable, kind human beings on both sides of that relationship.
Yeah, I went through something recently where this person we've never heard of from all of a sudden just like serves us with like a lawsuit because a tenant had mold and it was causing his sickness. And it was like, you could have told us that you have this issue. And then, so we were like, okay, can we come look at it and fix it? And he refuses to let us in. And it's like, you have a mold issue that's causing you sickness. Okay. Do you want out of your lease? No, I want to stay. I just want to sue you. I'm like, well, can we fix it? No, like, we don't even know. There's no record that this has happened. You won't even allow us to have access. And it just dragged, he drug it out, and it ended up being that really he just didn't have enough money for something. And he thought this was his way for money. And long story short, I think we paid him like $500 to move out, and he was happy. And I was like, we could have gone about this a whole nother way and not include lawyers. And like, I'm sure there was fees. Like, it was just,
I think we're
insane.
Defeating our purpose right now, Alan. Because right here, we're being told that they're thinking about getting into real estate, and we're doing a good job at scaring them away. I get that, because my toasters and Alan's getting sued and Lauren's boss is getting involved because of this, but there's 150,000 better stories. We're just telling our worst horror stories, so you're prepared, so you can cover yourself. And that's why we share these, because this has happened to us. it got messy. We got through it, and we're all three of us are still
We're
collecting rent.
still here. Exactly. Like Tom's story was in 2004.
It was.
This was like 19 years ago, and he's still doing this. So how, I mean, you obviously the good outweighs the bad. But something about real estate that I say all the time is like it will make you a more resilient, more confident human being. And the stuff that is like a nightmare at the time, you know, you laugh about it 19 years later, going
Yeah,
live on
and-
YouTube.
On the last comment, some tenants think that they're owners. I have a tenant. She's in her late 70s, and she gardens. She does landscape. She takes care of the property better than I could take care of the property, and she's one of my favorite tenants. I don't have issues with her. She pays her rent every month on the 3rd. I go and pick it up from her. She gives me vegetables from the garden. I mean, I don't have issues with pride in ownership, because also my other favorite tenant up in Ohio, she is in her late 70s, I believe, as well. But every time I go over there and anytime we do a walkthrough, it's spotless. It's taken better care of than my own home. It's the type of tenant that I want. So pride in ownership is one thing, but then the tenants who do things like Alan was just describing with the I'm suing you, but you can't get inside to fix it. Those are the ones that, you know, and I think we've all had those crazy tenants as well. And Lauren's had a squatter. And I mean, we've gone through the evictions. We've gone through all these different processes. And that's part of running a business, because you're going to have the hard to please guest. You're going to have the tenant that no matter what you do, you could tear down the house and put it back up brand new. It's not going to hit what they want, because there's deeper issues. I'm a rookie real estate investor. I appreciate that you share the good with the bad and being landlords. I think that managing expectations is half of the battle. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah. So just Tom, you're reading the comments that we're seeing on YouTube, but the Instagram people don't see these comments. So yeah, we're so if you've got questions, try to put them in Instagram. We'll try to catch them, but definitely YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. We can put them up on the screen for you.
Lawrence did them in both, so we're covered, Alan.
Okay, good. But yeah, so Lawrence says, appreciate the good and bad. TP on YouTube, good to hear. Thanks for the encouragement. That's why I'm here. There are ups and downs. Yeah, I mean, think about whatever your job is now. Like, if you enjoy it, you've had bad stories that's happened in the past. You don't quit. You know, you've got, you know, things happen. We're in a people business, and honestly, people business makes fun stories, and you know, you got to roll with the punches. But I do think you have to have thick skin to be an, you know, landlord investor. And then if you don't, put those property managers as sort of so you're siloed off from this. I always say, I don't want to hear any story. Like don't let any tenant ever give me a story, because the stories always end up with me losing money if I ever hear a story. Like no tenant comes to me and says, Alan, just want to let you know I got a bonus at work and I'm wanting to upgrade the tile in the bathroom. Like that's never the story, right? It's always like, hey, Alan, you got a second? I just want to, you know, tell you a story. No stories. I'm not a story. I'm not going to listen to your stories. So, because
I'll stop texting you stories, Alan. Sorry.
You're not my tenant. But the story is always like, hey, so this person died, and then my car broke down. Then I lost my job, and then you know, I need new medical bills or whatever. And it's just like, man, this was a bad story. Then got worse, and then now, okay, you know. So, sorry, here's a get well card. They're like, no. So can I not pay rent this month? I'm like, no, go tell your story to the guy at the 7-Eleven that you just spent like, you know, $20 on, you know, beer. Like, why didn't you share that story with the 7-Eleven guy and say, you know, can I have this beer for free because of this bad story that happened?
Can I have this beer for free? Yeah, I mean, you know, Airbnb guests do that too when they're canceling, right? It's all like lots of people dying. People are dying. There's a death in the family. We can't come. We're so sorry. We really wanted to come. We're going to come in the future. Will you refund me? I'm like, yeah, happy to work with your travel insurance agent. Sounds like that would cover it, you know, or, you know, just things like that where, and probably some of the stories are like so true. Yeah. I just don't know which ones.
So, Lauren, we did have some requests, and this was actually my number one request. I want to hear your Airbnb story where you were out of town and they threw a party.
Okay. So I've had one party thrown. I've hosted, it's hard to tell exactly between the two things, but probably 500 groups of people I've hosted.
How do you know if a party's been thrown?
Well, I mean, I guess I don't. Well,
Are-
here, let me put it this way.
are-
All of my properties are short-term and long-term combo. So somebody would have told me, I think. I don't think like my long-term tenant's going to be there like, wow, that was crazy yesterday, but I'm not even going to call the landlord and tell about it. And actually, that's how I found out about the party was the long-term tenant next door. So a young person showed up. It was an older person who booked, and everything was fine that way. They signed the agreement. They put in the $250 deposit. Most of my deposits, by the way, are like $100. This is just my biggest unit, so it's $250. And they put that in. It was a 3-day. I don't usually allow 2-day bookings, not on the weekend. This is 3-day booking. Like, I'm trying to do everything to keep a party from happening, right? I have a minimum age. I think it's 21 now. It used to be 25, but I think I've lowered it to 21. A lot of traveling nurses are younger. And anyways, so it's an older person that books. They sign the agreement, all of that. They immediately get to the property and they knock on, it's a duplex, side by side kind of townhouse style duplex. They knock on my tenant's door next door, and they give my tenant their number and says, hey, we're going to be around all weekend. Here's my number if things get loud. And this is right about at check-in. This is like 8 p.m., something like that. And my tenant immediately was like, I think they're about to throw a party next door. I'm like, okay, interesting. So we're looking at the cameras, which, by the way, fully disclosed, outside only. We're looking at the cameras, and we see people going in, and they've got like beer boxes and whatever. And then so I get on the phone with Airbnb, and I tell them, like, I think there's a party happening. And they're like, okay, let me get you to the safety team. And it takes like an hour for the safety team to call back. And then what we're seeing all during this time is it wasn't that many people. It was probably like 12 people or something, but they were all young, like young. And they were sitting in the back, and you can see in the cameras, and I'm trying to figure out, is the adult that's pictured there anywhere, going in or out? And I don't see it. And I messaged at one point, hey, notice maybe I said, tenant next door mentioned there's like 8 or 9 people there. You're only registered for 3. No, I didn't mention that. I said, hey, you registered for 3 people. Just wanted to confirm that's all that's going to be there this weekend. Yep, absolutely. So I've already got them like they're lying to me. So I know there's a problem, right? I don't really need to wait for a problem to happen. And they're all sitting around the table outside, and they're passing, a blunt around. So it's like really obvious what's going on. I've got the footage. I share it with Airbnb. Airbnb canceled their reservation like right at like 11 p.m. And I messaged and I said, hey, you have 30 minutes to get out of there, or we're calling the cops. They sang happy birthday, and then they left. And then they messaged, this is the most ridiculous thing. I don't know if the parent was in on this, whoever's Airbnb account this is. They messaged me, hey, we left some sodas in the fridge. Maybe the cleaners want them or something. It was beer. It was a ton of beer, which I gave to my tenant for tipping me off. But it's like, there was a birthday cake. There were birthday streamers. There was a sign that said, let's party. There was a tarp put down because I guess they were going to play beer pong. I don't know. The tarp was under the table, not on it. I don't know. But like, so obvious there was a party. And they had signed this agreement that said, I'm not going to throw a party. And I they're going to forfeit my, all of this. And so Airbnb canceled that reservation. It took a while. It took like a couple of hours. And I was in Colorado. It was a Friday night. I was out. So I was at like this wine bar. So I was like, I would like have my charcuterie and then go talk to Airbnb, and then have a little more charcuterie and then go talk to Airbnb. And, it was like a bottle of wine in by the time this ended. But they left. So it worked out okay. The cleaner got in early the next day. She spent, it wasn't too bad because they'd only been there a couple of hours. So I think it was like $100 extra I had to pay her, and Airbnb paid me that. I got to keep the deposit and all of the money for the reservation. And then the place was clean. So we stayed there that weekend.
I think that this is a good question that we'll share with Instagram too. Do you have noise sensors in your Airbnb properties? Is AirCover easy to work with?
Well, first of all, what's AirCover?
AirCover is like the Airbnb quote unquote insurance that they say that they say that they'll pay, we have $1 million, whatever. The noise sensors, I don't have any. My properties, I've really taken the approach of having studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms. And so I've really, I think, hedged against having a rowdy bunch of people by having smaller units. And so, for that reason, I don't have the noise sensors. I also have NARCs. Like, I have my long-term tenants everywhere, and they're going to tell me if there's a problem. And I actually never hear anything from them. ever, except for that one time. Oh, air cover.
So-
Is it easy to work with? I think I've submitted one claim one time and they paid it. That's it. I mean, the key with air cover is document like crazy. Be the first one to say something. Get the guest to admit that they did something. So like, hey, I noticed there's this like giant stain on the, whatever. There's a spot. I noticed there's a spot on this chair. Can you tell me what it is so that our cleaner can get it off? Oh my God, I am so sorry. I spilled red nail polish on it. Boom, got it. And then they have to cover it. So if you can get the guest to admit that they did it, that's kind of the best way to go. I've submitted only one claim. Like I said, between my small units, my security deposit, my renter's agreement, I don't have to submit claims. People don't steal stuff. Like one person left it a little extra messy because they think cleaner equals made. And so I just kept their deposit in that case. So I haven't had, literally 500, probably 400, 500 groups of people. I've had one claim.
And the toasters never walked away.
The coasters?
The toaster.
Hair dryer. The
Oh,
hair dryers
no.
walk away.
No, one hair dryer. God, I lost a hair dryer last week. RIP to the hair dryer. I had bought 2 hair dryers for $2 each at a yard sale the week before. So no harm, no foul.
All right. Well, we're coming up on our 45 minutes run time here. Tom, did you have any other horror stories?
Well,
Anything you wanted to
Lawrence just
wrap up?
popped in with 2 questions that I'm just going to touch on. Will we see you at FinCon? And did Lauren get the keg? No, she didn't get the keg because her fridge was full of beer, so she got the beer. Yes, you will see me, you will see Lauren, and you will see Alan all at FinCon, and we are looking forward to seeing you.
Yep,
That's in
I'll be there.
October in Orlando. Yeah.
Nope.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Are you booked?
Oh.
Are you booked in Orlando?
You go to Orlando, Alan, and we
I was
will.
just checking you guys. I was just fact checking you guys. Just making sure. Like you guys
It was
were
in
all on the same
Orlando
page.
last year.
It was.
It's in New Orleans this year. We should rent an Airbnb together and throw a huge party and just see how other people handle
Just
their,
see how it
their
goes, yeah.
cancellations. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm taking an RV. I'm taking my camper, but by all
Lauren's
means,
smart. with that one.
I'll throw a party at your Airbnb, Alan.
Yeah. Okay. New Orleans. Well, that'd be fun. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I've committed to going. I just didn't realize where it was. So, okay.
Okay.
I booked my
New
ticket
Orleans
just
is fun.
yesterday.
Okay. I will do
I'm
this.
driving.
All right. Yes.
Lauren
All
is
right. That's
driving. She's frugal.
yeah.
Yeah. I figured Lawrence was going for sure since he's from there.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Alan Corey, Tom Brickman, Lauren Keen. I'm in here. We come in Thursday, live streaming, new to Instagram. We're going to get the better, hang of it. But yeah, come with your questions. And we have a new topic every week. So this was Real Estate Horror Stories. Hope we didn't scare you away, but appreciate you guys tuning in.
Bye.